If you'd like to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button to stay on top of the market news. Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razek at CM Trading. Today is November 10th, 2020, and today is Tuesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, it's Pfizer Pharmaceuticals that's coming out with a vaccine that is 90% effective in immunity for the coronavirus. Unbelievable news. The markets go haywire. But before we discuss the markets, today's economic events, just one event coming out of the European Union. It's a ZWE economic sentiment number coming out, and that's going to be at 12 o'clock South African time. So looking at the markets and the effect of this Pfizer news, the Forex symbols go haywire. The dollar tanks as the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones both explode yesterday. The Dow Jones hit a 30,000 points, trading at 29,100-ish level right now. Looking at the commodities, gold tanks over $100 to 1850 from 1950. Unbelievable trade. And lastly, looking at oil, also going and rallying above $40 a barrel. Now, looking at the stocks, we had an interesting rotation yesterday. The FANG stocks were weak, and the bank stocks and some of the big board stocks were strong. So you see that rotation already happening. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, it's staying very strong despite this news. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trade. So we're going to take a look first at the EUR/USD at a daily chart. And you can see pretty much we traded all the way up to 119-ish level yesterday, hit it, but didn't break above it. Okay, so there is significant resistance right here, okay, for not breaking out higher. So interestingly enough, that is something I really want to keep an eye on. If we look at the Aussie dollar as well, also trading towards that upper limit, but not breaking it. However, looking at the South African Rand, look at that, continues to weaken down to 1540. And this I called last week. If you remember, if we continue to break down the 16, it went to 1540. Now we are at previous support level. If you look at that, that was previous resistance, subsequent support. So I do expect it to bounce off this area. Now, if it does continue to break, then we could certainly see it back in that 1420, 1430-ish range. Believe it or not, that could still happen. So keep an eye on this as this unfolds. Now, jumping into the Turkish lira, this has been tremendously in play as it's making a comeback. Okay, looking at the past hour, we're seeing that actual fade formation actually present itself after spiking higher to 1836. Altogether, it's still getting stronger versus the USD as its progression into today's trading. So keep that in mind as this unfolds. Now, jumping into commodities. Gold, look at that nosedive. OMG. 1960 down to 1855. And look, it hit support. Okay, these are numbers that I have up already. 1855 was support and bounced right off of it to 1885. Tremendous buying opportunity. If you did get yourself catching that yesterday, good for you. Kudos. Now, jumping into gold and oil, trading at $40.29 after spiking up to $41. Now, this is another one. It's showing some umphares and showing some resiliency. So, I think, the market's still digesting this piece of news coming out of Pfizer. We're not really sure how effective it is. What's the long-term effects of this new vaccine? So there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be digested by the market in order for this to be sustainable over the long run. Now, jumping into the Dow Jones, look at this. Yesterday, we hit a high of 30,000 on the Dow Jones. Look at that, completely vertical. We were strong. If you guys remember yesterday, we were strong in the get-go coming out of the markets yesterday, and we did rally higher, but then we took it up to outer space. 30,000 on the Dow. Remember, in February of 2020, we were a high of 29,400. And so we had traded as high as 600 points above that in a pandemic. Okay. Yes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that that's what everybody's celebrating. But still, we're way still not out of this pandemic anytime soon. And the effects on the markets are still there. So with that said, we are bouncing this morning, as you can see here, after selling off tremendous fade opportunity. Look at that, just sold off tremendously. Did bounce in that 29,564, did look a little bit attractive in shorting that because these are fade opportunities, which means that the market is digesting. There's that initial spike, and then we see if it's really sustainable or not. So right now, we sold off to 28,800-ish level, which was a previous resistance level. If you guys remember, that was the level that we tried to hit back in early September, but didn't break it higher. Okay, and that was our second run at, the end of October. In the beginning of September, we were right here where we hit 29,200-ish levels. So we're right there. Okay, interestingly enough, we're right there. That is our start off point as we're kind of making a correctional move in the markets. Now, looking at the individual stocks, kind of interesting. Apple was down yesterday. Facebook was down yesterday. Microsoft was down yesterday. Amazon was down yesterday. So all the FANG stocks really showed tremendous weakness yesterday when the markets is taking this rotation. However, if you look at the bank stocks, look at that, 117 on the JP Morgan. That's a tremendous move for JP Morgan. Remember, we were challenged with this 104, 103 level. Questions you should be asking yourself: what would have happened if last week this news came out? How would it have affected the presidency? I don't know. Whether it would have helped Trump, hurt Trump, help Biden more, or hurt Biden, that's something to be discussed in maybe on Facebook sometime. But this is definitely something colossal. I would wait for a fading opportunity. I think we're going to correct ourselves. I think everybody's going to digest the information and then really kind of gravitate to some sort of normalcy. And I think we need to make that correctional move. So keep that in mind today. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day.